Hey, what's up? Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of SimplyPodLogical, a Simply Logical podcast. I'm Ben. You're Cristine. Yeah.
Who else would I be? Imagine there was another woman.
Who are you today?
Today, it's another woman.
Okay. This episode is brought to you by Holo Taco.
It is.
Do you have boring nails? It's not a
problem
problem anymore. With Holo Taco nail polish. Holo Taco is so amazing that you're going to want to keep all your nail polish. You'll never want to take it off. So that's why you should get a peely base.
Yeah, so you can save it.
So you can save your nail polish and keep it in a little Ziploc bag
A peely
forever.
bag.
A peely bag.
Ben loves me even though I have a peely bag. Right, Ben?
Well, do you feel it? Do you feel it in the air?
What? The peel?
The love.
Oh.
Love is in the air.
Yeah.
Because today we're talking about your relationship, my relationship,
With each other.
our relationship, their relationship. We're talking about relationships today.
I can't believe you just did a Holo Taco ad read without any direction from me.
Well, maybe we should sponsor those on other podcasts, you know. Just for full disclosure, Cristine is the owner of the nail polish line, Holo Taco.
No, it's really Ben, clearly. No.
Well, I mean, we're both involved in it, yes.
So you can shop Holo Taco where, Ben?
Oh, I forgot the call.
forgot. You're
Okay, yeah, you
fired.
got to put a website, right? www.holotaco.com.
HoloTaco.com. Get you a peely base, popping peelies, give it to your crush. Okay, maybe don't do that. Bad advice.
Yeah, we'll get to the relationship advice. And please don't take anything we say too seriously, right? I wouldn't want anyone to like break up over something they hear us say.
Over Holo?
No, so today we're talking about relationships. We get a
Yeah.
lot of questions as a couple on YouTube. We get a lot of questions about our relationship.
So many questions.
If people have been watching your YouTube videos, they probably know more about our relationship than I'm even comfortable
you
with
know.
them already knowing. But we see there's a demand for it. So we wanted to have a podcast where we kind of recap our relationship, talk about how we met, and then just take a bunch of sort of fan or audience submitted questions, not only about our relationship, but relationship stuff in general.
Yeah, I just want to say I'm aware a lot of you guys watching and listening are very interested in our relationship. And I get it because we haven't really made that many videos on like our story, how we met. I don't think we've ever made a dedicated video on that. Maybe we've mentioned it passively in a random Q&A or it just kind of came up naturally. But we haven't been that YouTube couple that like, here's the story of us, love, annoying, etc. So I guess we're doing this today because we know that a lot of questions are not answered in one concise place. So I'm like, okay, fine. Today's the day. We'll answer these questions. All of it's annoying. I totally get it. I'm not really like shove my relationship in people's faces kind of person. But I also recognize that there's a lot of you guys that just want the answers.
Sure. And part of it too is, you know, you want to keep some things off camera. Right?
Also that, yeah, we're not answering every dirty question. Okay, people.
Like when you see some influencer get a new boyfriend and girlfriend and all of a sudden all their content's about that relationship, I always immediately wonder how fabricated that situation is.
Well, we can talk about that definitely later on. That'll come up.
Will it?
Our views on the culture of relationship YouTube.
No, I mean, I don't know. If the content of people's videos is sharing their lives and you're dating people, I could see how that comes in. That must be a weird first conversation about, like, we met before you were a famous YouTube person.
Do you want to tell the story of how we met?
Yeah, okay. Let's talk about how we met.
Let's start there, Ben.
I know people have a tendency to talk about their relationship and how they met as if, like, it's some fairy tale. It was like love at first sight sort of thing. Let's be honest, right?
No.
How did we meet, Christy? Maybe it will be interesting to see how different our recollection is.
What if we say it at the same time really quickly and then we both say something different?
Say what? Like just,
how we met. And it's just like they don't line up.
Okay. We met on
school.
Facebook. I'm kidding. We met for real in grad school.
Okay, so how old were we? We were 24? 23.
23.
I was 23. You might have been 24.
I think we were just starting our second year of grad school, I want to say, because the first conversation I remember ever having with you was in a research methods class.
A class of around 10 to 12 people.
Yeah,
right?
so you were sort of forced to talk to people.
Yeah,
That's probably the only reason you spoke to me.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, and So what kind of class was this? This was a sociology class.
Yeah.
It was like ideology discourse type
No,
class.
so it was the class where we had to sort of, it was a methods class. So remember we were
Social
presenting,
research
you know,
methods.
what would the structure of our thesis be at that point?
Yeah.
So I
that's
think it was
right.
actually the end of the first year of grad school then. I think that would make more sense.
Maybe.
Who knows?
I don't know. We weren't that young, I guess, is to answer the
Yeah.
question. We were 23, 24.
Here's the thing though, we were in the same program in undergrad. We just didn't know each other.
No.
But this was a time, I think I've hinted at this before and people thought it was really strange and people thought I was like a stalker or something. So I just want to explain for a second. Back when we started university, Facebook was kind of still a new thing in terms of how people used it, let's say. Like when we were in the last year of high school was the first year Facebook was opened up to people even outside of university. Now, you know, everyone uses it, except it's not cool anymore, I think. But anyway, so we were going to university for our first time. I remember there was like a Facebook group for first year criminology students, class of 2011 or whatever we were. So I remember I just added myself to that group or whatever, and I think a bunch of people did, and I think you did too.
I did too. I was so into it. I'm
So-
like, yeah, student study groups.
Oh yeah. But I remember seeing you from that. So
What was my profile picture?
I don't know, but occasionally pictures of you would pop up on my Facebook, and I would be like, "That's a pretty girl." So
That's a pretty girl.
So, I mean, I probably had cruder thoughts than that. Let's say.
Bam.
Well, you enjoyed yourself in university, and you would.
I enjoyed myself. What am I, a fish song?
No, but you would go out clubbing. If you sort of talked about the fact that you were still like going out to bars. And,
Yeah. I was young once.
Yeah. Anyway, so I was aware of you
Yeah.
as the hot girl I saw.
No.
No?
Just like, no. No one out there believes that.
Oh, come on.
Okay, so we didn't actually know each other. We never crossed paths that we recall in undergrad
no.
at all.
I don't
But
think so.
once we were doing our master's degree when we were 23, 24, that's when we were actually in the same classroom of 10 to 12 people. And after class, I remember you kind of had to talk to each other about your theses. And so we had to go around and just like ask, oh, well, you know, whose philosophy are you following? Oh, Foucault. Oh, interesting. Me too.
I must have been super obnoxious. I remember coming
Yes.
up to you. Oh, good. Yeah, first impressions, right? Because we had these posters for like what we thought our thesis was going to be. And I think I came over and I was looking at yours and I wanted you to think I was really smart. So I'm like questioning what theory you're using and dropping names and being like, oh, have you read Foucault's Archaeology of Knowledge? Have you considered
You're
adding
like,
this in your
Derrida
thesis?
or whatever. And I'm like,
Derrida.
I didn't know who you were talking about at the
Derrida.
time. Derrida. There,
Yeah.
see? I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I was off the theory deep end, which is super obnoxious in retrospect. And I think I ended grad school thinking I was more of like a pragmatist and like a sort of Richard Rorty tradition. Anyway, I'm sure I came off super obnoxious, but I was just trying to show off that I was smart. I think that was my aim.
It worked.
Did it work, or did you just think I was an asshole?
I mean, I didn't think you were an asshole. Oh, no, definitely not. I knew assholes, and they were not you.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay. So that was working in my favor.
Yeah.
So I remember after that, there was some like criminalization and punishment education kind of advocacy group that a bunch of people in that program were kind of members of. And I think we both started going to that briefly, mostly as an excuse to hang out with each other and get to know each other a little better. Yeah, you remember that the same way? Okay, good.
It's like, who was that man?
Who was that man?
He thinks I'm cute.
Yeah, I did. I mean, I was at a weird place in grad school. I was not happy in grad school. I didn't have a great time there.
We had very different lives, which I think is interesting too, because then our lives slowly fused together and became one, and now we have a very similar life. But at the time, I remember I was living at normal hours of life. I was getting up at 7 a.m., going to work at corrections, and then I would work on, my thesis after work. And I was working part-time, so some days I had class maybe.
Sure.
But you were a nocturnal owl. You
Yeah.
would get up or sorry, you would already be awake at 7 a.m. You'd go to the
still be
diner.
awake.
You'd still be awake. And we would cross paths, have breakfast.
Sometimes we would meet for breakfast.
And I would go to work, and then you would go home to sleep at 8 a.m.
Yeah. Yeah, I was kind of a mess when I met
Yes.
you. And like fully living that grad school lifestyle, let's say. I used to go to like the Elgin Street Diner, a landmark in Ottawa, and I would bring my papers there. I was a TA. And I remember I would just stay up all night marking papers. One time I spilled like a bunch of gravy from poutine on like some
Poutine.
kid's paper. No, but yeah, we would sometimes meet for breakfast. And I think, I mean, we're sort of jumping ahead to when we actually were dating. But yeah,
But
having
that was the beginning when I was deciding,
Sure.
like, this person lives the opposite life as I do. How is this going to work?
Yeah,
in the
no.
beginning, I really liked you, and I was so interested in you because you were very intelligent. Yes, like, I mean, that's part arrogance, but also truth. Like, you are just
Thank you.
incredibly smart, which is something that I was always drawn to.
Yeah, like I have to admit, I'm gonna sound like such. I was attracted to you for very superficial reasons in the beginning.
No one believes you.
See, that's just your low self-esteem talking.
Maybe.
Dear.
Menchie makes me have low self-esteem because she's so beautiful.
But yeah, I quickly realized I was more interested in you than just for those reasons. And you were really smart. And once I realized, oh, like I'm actually interested in this person and I want to like have a relationship with you, I think I pretty quickly kind of turned
Yeah.
my life right side up, let's say, and started sleeping normal hours. And you were a motivation for that. And that actually really worked out for me.
I think I encouraged you to live normal hours like I did because
Yeah.
that's how we could see each other and both of us live
And
productive
that was a
lives.
good incentive for me. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
I actually want to see this girl I'm seeing. I should probably sleep at night and be awake during the
Yeah,
day.
because I wasn't going to change my schedule. I had shit to do.
And we very quickly sort of fell into not just casual dating, but I think feeling like it was a relationship pretty quick, right? Like people have
Yeah.
asked before, like,
How
what
long
was your
did we
first
date?
date?
Or we didn't really date. I mean, you came over and we watched Breaking Amish.
I remember
a few
that we
times.
watched like
That's
some
my
trashy TLC
trashy
shows from that
TLC
time
together.
period.
We did go out for dinner a few times.
Sure.
So I guess that's dating. I don't know. I just like don't think of it that way.
But no, I think you're right. We really quickly fell into this routine of come over to my condo, hang out with my cat Zyler, who has been around longer than me,
Yeah.
you should say. But yeah, it was a lot of like instantly falling into like nice couple cozy stuff. Let's stay in and cook dinner and just hang out and watch a movie. And
Yeah.
it just felt right.
We were both
really early
getting
on.
older. I mean, as far as like being young in your
We were, like,
youth is concerned.
23,
yeah,
24.
right. But when you're already in grad school, you feel like you're just getting old. It's just kind of when it hits you. You're not going out and partying anymore. Or at least I wasn't. Like I was kind of, I did that for a few years and I was like ready to just be
Your
over
party
with
days
it.
were
I was
behind
like, I'm
you.
done.
We were both sort of over the
Tired
bar
of-
scene.
yeah.
I think for sure,
I
right?
lived my life on the dance floor and then I retired.
I think I partied more at like the end of high school and first year university, and I very quickly dropped off, and I kind of was over that sort of.
Yeah, so we both got it out of our systems,
Yeah.
which does make our relationship different than maybe a bunch of others listening who are still in that kind of younger, going out with a bunch of friends. We were kind of done with that part of our lives anyways by the time we were 24. I mean, I was just tired. I was trying to finish my thesis. I was working and I was just in full-blown like career girl mode. So I didn't have time for too much more than just, you know, a low-key relationship. I couldn't also go party with friends every Friday and Saturday night. So yeah, but it just kind of, it made sense for us in our,
Yeah, we found each other at the right time. Here's
Yeah.
the thing. If we had met each other in undergrad,
oh no, we
Yeah.
wouldn't be together today.
exactly, right? And that's kind of the crazy, like, I don't believe in like fate or true love or like there's one person out there. Like, I feel like it's incredibly good fortune that we found each other. And I'm so thankful
At the
for
right
that.
time,
But
yeah.
we found each other at the right time. And
So
yeah.
I'm so glad that you didn't add me as a friend on Facebook in 2006.
Well, I did. And I just looked at your pictures.
Did I accept your friend request?
Well, I must have been your friend if I could see your
I
pictures.
would remember.
Who knows? I
I
deleted
don't know.
Facebook.
Yeah, so did I. I like blocked everyone on Facebook.
Oh, yeah?
In 2010. Everyone is blocked. I mean, well, now everyone can find me, but
That's right.
Oops.
Yeah, if you didn't want people to be able to find you online, you picked the wrong.
Oops.
Yeah, good job. I'm at least glad that we can say that we met each other in real life, and that's sort of how we met, because I feel like it's more and more normal now for people to meet each other on like dating apps. And that must be a funny thing, right? Imagine years from now, there's going to be a lot of people saying, Mom, Dad, how did you meet? Like,
on Tinder.
Well, Dad swiped right on me and
he sent me a
swiped...
dick pic on Snapchat. I instantly accepted.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so, I mean, hey, that's... romance changes,
it's more normal, yeah. When we were first dating, I mean, I didn't really know anyone who was doing online dating.
Yeah, dating apps weren't really quite a thing yet.
No,
I don't think.
This was almost 8 years ago, for those of you just wondering in the broader context. It's been 8 years that Ben and I have been together, right?
Together that long?
Almost 8, yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. We're stuck with each other now. So we know there's going to be a lot of questions about like 8 years. Why aren't you married? Are you going to have kids? Like all those sort of questions. We asked people to submit questions both about our relationship and relationships in general. We're going to sort of cover all that ground. So maybe we should just shift over to see what people want to know about our relationship.
Yeah, we know what you guys want to know, but we'll answer the questions. And then we want to just talk more generally about relationship advice, because if this whole podcast was just about our relationship, I wouldn't watch it back. It's just like, I'm not the kind of person who wants to just shove my relationship in people's faces.
We're getting sick of ourselves, or we talk about ourselves a lot, but that's like our experience, right? That's what we know.
I know. Yeah, I have mixed feelings about it because I don't really like talking about myself that much, but I also understand why this is a good topic, because a lot of people want to hear about us and they see that it appears like we are in a good, healthy relationship. So they want to hear more about it. And it is true. We are in a good, healthy relationship. I didn't mean to make it sound like it was only perceived, but I can understand the curiosity there.
They're only seeing the good parts, you know.
Wait till they see the later parts. Revealed by the end. We're going to be in a huge argument by the end of this podcast.
So you sent me these embarrassing pictures from early in the
Let's
relationship.
show them.
Did you want to look at those?
Bonus for everyone watching on YouTube.
Oh, God.
I found some archival footage.
That's
because
lovely.
I have a hard drive from 2012.
Yeah, Christine's a digital hoarder, let's say. Yeah, I don't know why you keep the things you keep.
I don't know, but keep Mary Kondo the fuck away from my hard drives.
Does this spark joy in your life?
It does. Look at this stud muffin.
That is your shirt, by the way. I don't know why I'm wearing it. Those were your PJs, I remember.
I love oversized shirts as PJs.
Yeah, stud muffin. I like that. Here's
So
us.
this is one of the first pictures of us. My nails are a mess. Why did you date me? They're chipping, clearly.
That's how I judge a girl, by her nails.
But this was in the bathroom of my condo. Before you moved in, obviously. This is when we first started dating. Ben did eventually move into the condo after like a year, I would say.
Yeah, I think after about a year. I was kind of there all the time anyway,
Right.
so it just sort of made sense at that point.
But look at us. We're such little babies. Why are you on the phone?
It's just important, you know, making calls, I think I was calling a cab. We were going out for I think that was for your birthday.
I think it was my 24th birthday.
Yeah,
That
I
makes
think we went to
sense.
some like sushi place.
Yeah.
I remember that. Here's me with Zyler.
So Zyler was finally accepting of Ben, because Zyler had been with me for maybe 4 years before Ben entered the picture.
That's true.
But initially, Zyler used to try and eat and attack Ben's feet.
Zyler
Remember
really
that?
didn't like
He-
me
he-
sleeping over.
Hated you. He wanted to like kill you, but now he loves you.
He would like bite my feet. There was like months of sort of power struggle between us, and I never had.
Who are the men in my life?
Yeah, we were fighting over you. Well, he needs you every night when we go to bed.
Yeah,
like he needs
he's
to
with
be
me, yeah.
around you.
Yeah.
So I guess he saw me as a threat, which is very
Oh,
funny.
yeah.
And it took a long time for me to win him over.
And I was like, you're both my boys. So this is us on our first trip that we took together in New York.
I remember
think this
this.
was 2013. So this is within a year of dating.
Yeah, these are those steps at Times Square.
Look
I
at us.
remember
Look at
this.
us little babies.
And then we went
Just
up to the
another
top
one
of like
in
the
New York.
Empire State Building. Oh,
And that's when we got Menchie.
then I think about a year into our relationship, we got Menchie. And I remember this feeling like a big step or
it
a
was
big
a year
deal
and a
at the
half
time.
because it was in the late summer, I think. Yeah.
That makes sense. Okay,
Yeah.
so a year and a half into our relationship, we decided, let's
have a
get
baby.
a cat together. This was our version of having a baby. And we really do. We basically treat her like a child.
And there's the whole family.
The whole fam.
The Simply fam. Aw. Back in
cute.
2013. Yeah.
All right. Let's hop to questions. There's people listening to this who are just...
Yeah. Well, they'll just have to come to YouTube and look at this archival footage.
All right. First question from Alexia Vega. What were your first impressions of each other?
Uh-oh. Who starts?
I think I already sort of admitted I was attracted to you for superficial reasons. I thought you were very pretty.
You're making me blush. I kind of thought you were a know-it-all. A little, yeah. But at least you kind of know that about yourself at the same time, right? Like, you know that you do come off as intelligent.
I must not have been so bad, though, that you were somewhat interested.
I think for me, I was so used to guys who were more of like a douchebag. Like, they just came off like a douche, honestly. Like, they were kind of an asshole, like a bad boy, let's say. They were a bad boy. You were not a bad boy. You were a smart boy who knew he was smart. But to me, that was way more incredibly attractive because I was just so sick after probably 10 years of dating someone that was more of a bad boy vibe. Like, they knew they were a bad boy, and that's what they wanted to show off. So I would prefer, if you're going to show off about something, I'd rather you show off that you're just intelligent and not a bad person.
Well, that's
right?
We're evolving.
So
that's called growing up, I guess.
Yeah, and no, that was me growing up and like deciding to change what I'm looking for in a partner.
I should say that I think early on in our relationship, I recognized that your experience with guys, like you would tell me how you thought I was very different and nicer than...
You are. You're such a nice guy. You are not a dick. And I'm still like shocked. But like, I shouldn't be shocked.
Sometimes I think I just got lucky that like all your past experiences, you just met a bunch of jerks.
Okay, I don't want to make it sound like everyone I dated was a jerk.
Sure.
Just saying, on average, including people who were dating my friends, there was just a lot of jerk boys,
Yeah.
That's
and I think it's partly like I wasn't the kind of guy going out in university who would like brag about like getting
hooking
women
up
at the
with-
club. And
Exactly.
yeah, I was not
So
into
as
that.
you know, and I might have mentioned, I lived with 4 or 5 guys at one point after residence. Like, we moved in together second or third year. And a lot of that culture was them talking about what bitches they hooked up with. Not every single one of them, but them and their friends, and it was often the same kind of shtick. And like, I would hear about it and laugh at it and just kind of listen to it, and it was just very normalized. So when I met Ben and he was not like that at all, I was like, wow, this is nice.
That's all it took.
Yeah, well, no, that makes it sound bad, but
No.
But
I get
I
it.
was relieved. I was happy. I was interested that you seemed to just care about me and you weren't going to turn around and go brag to your friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From Mrs. Manu Kenkun. I'm 46 and single. Should I bother trying to find someone again or be happy living with my cat?
Be happy with your cat. No.
I think I know the answer, but people have the impression there's something wrong with you if you're single, and friends push me to look for someone. Also, being a spinster is cool, okay? I mean, are you telling us or asking us? I mean, I know for me as a person, I am happy being in a relationship, and that's important to me. Or I guess I just know I'm happy with you and the life we've built together. And there's something to be said for having shared experiences is a lot of what life is about, I would say. That doesn't mean it needs to be a romantic partner. But if you have, a friend group or people that mean something to you, or you're close with your family, that could be how you are sharing in life experiences with people. I know some people who are single and seem happy about it. So, I mean, to each their own, I guess. I wouldn't go out and get a boyfriend or girlfriend or...
Just because
Just
other
settle.
people are doing it.
Exactly, right? And that's how you end up with people who just...
That you don't end up being happy with.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're going to be with someone, it should be with someone that makes you happier and that makes you a better person. I think that's good, just general advice. Like, a lot of people are always asking themselves, is this the right person for me, or am I better off single? And so to that, I would say, is this person making you a better person or a worse person? which is a very hard truth to face. And I have done that in
Sure.
my life. And sometimes the answer to that was, they're making me a worse person, whether it's because I'm unhappy or because I'm behaving in a way that's just accommodating them.
Yeah.
And I'm not being true to myself and what I really want to do with my life. So it's a hard truth to face sometimes, because you still might love the person and you still might, want to be with them. But if they're making you a worse person, or you just not yourself, or you're unhappy, then you may not need them in your life. And I think it's okay to accept that. And there will be times of your life where you're not in a relationship. And I don't want people listening to this to think that we're just like, yeah, relationships are the best because me and Ben are so happy and like we're perfect. Of course, I've been single at points in my life. So has Ben.
Yeah.
And I have single
years.
friends. Yeah, Ben was single for much longer than I was.
Zing. Is that a backhanded?
No, not at all. Not at all. It's just a different journey of self-discovery and knowing what you want. And even though, yeah, I've had more partners in my life, I've also learned a lot from those experiences, and know more and more what does make me happy. And so eventually when I found Ben, I realized this is what I want. Now this is really annoying podcast.
Gross.
But all this to say, it's okay, there's might be periods in your life where you're single. Life isn't over. You don't have to go out on a constant search for someone to be with, right? The right person might come along at the right time.
Or maybe you're just happy being single.
Or maybe you're just happy.
Yeah.
And being single sometimes is like a good opportunity, if you're someone who's usually in a relationship, especially, to just like do your own shit. Like take care of yourself. Figure yourself out. Go ham on your career path, whatever it is your passions are.
People, when they're like desperate to be in a relationship, that doesn't tend to end with people ending up in a healthy relationship, I would say. Like, you don't want to be the person on a first date, like, just desperate to be in a relationship. And also, like, I think there's some truth in that saying. You kind of have to, it's obnoxious, but like, what, you have to learn to love yourself before you can love someone else? Is that what people say?
Yeah.
It sounds obnoxious, but there is some truth to that. You kind of have to figure your own shit out. Figure out maybe who you are as a person before you can really learn how to exist with someone else. Although I should say, I think the opposite is also true. You can love yourself too much to know how to love someone else. Some people might have that problem as well. So,
Mrs. Menukan, your cat's like good for now, honestly.
You might just need more cats.
Maybe more cats, yeah. Don't pressure yourself. Don't stress yourself, You're good. You're good.
All right, next question from
Fudus3R4. Is that a word?
How early do you make sure you have the same values in a relationship? For example, when did you and Ben know you both don't want kids?
Is this the kids question?
I feel like some things are just not first date material. That's a good point.
Yeah, I definitely didn't say on our first date, I hate kids. No.
I don't even think we ever had a conversation about it as much as I noticed from talking and getting to know you that having kids wasn't something you were interested or thought was important.
So I saw this question come up a few times, and it seemed to me like people were asking it as if they were also sensitively worried about broaching the topic with their partner. They said, like, how did you know when it was safe or okay to tell Ben you didn't want kids? Maybe you're nervous about it. How do you even say that without maybe scaring someone away, I guess, is the fear. And I don't remember ever having a specific conversation with you where I was preparing mentally to tell you that I don't want kids and like was going to be afraid of your answer. I don't think that ever happened. It just kind of...
If your partner is paying attention to you and figuring out who you are, they probably should pick up on the fact that that's not something you... I mean, I guess there is a point at which you do maybe talk about it. Well, if one person in the relationship having kids is important to them, I think... The onus may be on them to sort of bring that up at a certain point.
Well, it should be, because having kids is an action. So I would expect that person to say that to something they want, rather than the expectation be on the person to just have kids and then say they don't want it. Yeah. That's not fair, I think.
I should say, like, as you're dating and you're getting older and you maybe feel your biological clock ticking, which I guess is a thing people worry about, I understand how maybe it becomes more of a thing you have to sort of figure out early on in a
like
relationship.
an impending doom clock or something.
Not to be overly dramatic, but if you're a 35-year-old woman dating and having kids is still important to you, and you feel like that needs to happen sooner than later, I get why you would want to volunteer and say, hey, just to be straight up, like having a family is important to me.
And that makes total sense to me too.
Just don't do it on the first date.
I think everyone's situation is different, basically, is what the case is. But for us, because we met when we were younger, 24, it wasn't like I was needed to rush to have kids personally. No. It just kind of naturally over time came out. I don't remember one particular conversation. I remember
we were at a Mexican restaurant called Felina's on Bank Street.
Okay.
And we were just having eating some fajitas, maybe tacos. I can't remember.
A holo taco.
And this little girl from a different table, I guess, was just kind of wandering around the restaurant, and she walked up to our table and she looks up at Cristine. She's a cute little girl, and she clearly wanted to interact with you. And I remember you gave me this look like, help, there's some little kid trying to talk to me. Help me. So I noticed early on, maybe aversion is a bit of a strong word, but you clearly aren't the kind of person who sees a kid and is wants to interact with him and be friendly. We both kind of think babies are weird.
They're aliens.
Like when someone says, here's my cute baby, and we're just like, yeah, I don't know about that.
Yeah, I have mixed feelings about this because on the one hand, there's my honest opinion. And then there's the one that I tell other people, especially mothers and
when they ask
coworkers,
if their babies are cute. Or?
No, but hold on, I'm being serious. Because I have certain feelings about children and having my own, but I don't want to make mothers or people who want children to feel bad, obviously, because they want kids or they have kids. So that's why I maybe don't really voice my, feeling towards me having babies that much.
Yeah,
because I don't want to insult. That's not what I'm trying to do. Everyone has their own opinion about whether or not they want a child. It's not for me. It's not something I've ever wanted to answer. I know a lot of people's questions, like when did I know I wanted kids? I've never wanted kids. There's been no point in my life where I've said maybe I want kids. Like no, I can't imagine.
But people ask you, do you think you'll ever change your mind?
Right. Yeah, exactly. That's a question I've gotten more than once.
Super annoying. Right?
If I had $1 for every time, no. And the answer is always nope. Like I'm not going to change my mind. I'm now 31, still haven't changed my mind.
And maybe I should just suggest to people who do ask people that, you don't know someone's situation. Maybe someone's incapable of having kids. Yeah. Maybe they're dealing with fertility issues. Just don't ask or pressure someone.
It's incredibly inappropriate. And it's just sad that society has historically put this pressure on women that they're going to have kids. It's just a matter of when. When you're going to start your family, because that's what you're here on Earth for.
But we're not making a judgment on people who do want to do that, and that is important.
I am happy. I have plenty of coworkers who've gone on mat leave. They're excited. They're pregnant. There's currently people pregnant at work. I have a friend on mat leave right now, and I'm happy for them. They bring their babies in. That's cool. It's fine. I don't hate people who have kids, or I don't hate babies and wish they would go away. I just don't want my own. It's not something I'm honestly not maternal unless it's a cat.
I think it's one of the most admirable or most important things you'll ever do. If you want to have kids, raising kids is,
you have to want them also is incredibly important. There are some people who have kids because of their partner wants them to have a kid, their family wanted them to have a kid, and they were never really sure if they wanted kids. And I don't think, although I have no experience in being a parent, but I just don't think that makes a good parent, someone who didn't want kids, right?
Yeah.
I mean, surely they can change their minds after the kids are born and they learn to love them, but I just don't feel like anyone should feel pressured into that situation. And I know it happens, and it sucks.
Yeah, I think I just want people to know, we have a lot of respect for people, though, who do want to be parents and do it for the right reasons and do a good job of raising kids, because we need...
Looks like a lot of hard work.
We need that next generation to fix the problems that our parents' generation mostly caused.
Hats off to parents. Seriously, I respect parents for doing what they do. It's an incredibly challenging job. and balancing everything, especially with technology and like kids getting into social media today. I can't imagine trying to police that and trying to navigate that with my own kid. So
yeah, because I notice online sometimes we're sort of mentioned as examples of people who are child free in like the child free online community. I don't really know how to feel about that, because I get the impression some of those people are very much
like
anti people having kids at all.
Yeah.
So I don't want
I'm
to
not
associate it with that.
I'm not anti people having kids. I have tons of friends and family who has kids. Like that's
they're all breeders though, right?
Okay, stop.
Is that the term?
It's just not for me. And maybe what about you, Ben, though? Because you knew I had strong feelings about not wanting kids. How did that affect you and your decision to stay with me?
I love the life we live now, and I do not see how children fit into that, is maybe one way of putting it. If I had met you and you really wanted to have kids, I don't think I would have been, I don't like feel that like I really want to be a dad feeling ever, and you're what's stopping me from doing that. But the weird thing is I kind of think we would be good parents if we chose to have kids. And I kind of look at it like this is going to sound arrogant, which is, I guess, my thing now. But, you want smart people. You want good people to be having kids.
Wow.
Let's say.
Okay. I agree with some people that like we would have cool kids, like we'd be cool parents. I've seen people say you'd be such cool parents because you're so cool and chill and like.
We'll just be the cool aunt and uncle instead.
Yeah. I believe that I could maybe be a cool mom and probably be
I'm a
reasonable.
Cool mom.
Yeah, like sure, but I mean, the fun stuff sounds fun, but the rest of it, not for me. Yeah.
Yeah, especially the early on stuff. Who wants that? But here's the thing, like, we're going to die alone, right?
No, with each other at the same time, remember?
At the same time? I don't know, men die young. I'm going to die before you, probably. So this is your problem.
Thanks. Leave me with that.
But this is the thing. Yeah, if you're not going to have kids or
have
an
cats.
Extended younger family, I guess this is probably a terrible reason to have kids. You shouldn't have kids just because you want young family around
Except
you when your life is coming to an end.
Which is why I also find that problematic, is that people have kids literally just selfishly thinking of how they need someone to take care of them when they're old.
How do you know that? They tell you that?
In some words.
I think a lot of people have kids just because they feel like that is the natural progression of how life should go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I guess that's
same with marriage.
In our biology, there's evolutionary reasons why we have that desire to pass on our genes.
And I hope that most people do have kids, or else we'd have a population problem.
Well, we do have there's too many people.
There's too many people? No,
on
I
Earth?
thought the population rate in Canada isn't being fueled by people having births.
Yeah, in Canada, our population is only going to increase because of immigration.
Yeah, less and less people are having children.
Yeah, without saying anything too controversial, though, like there are, in less developed parts of the world where birth control is harder to come by and women have less control over their reproductive health. Those are the countries where they have population issues, let's say.
Right. I guess I was just thinking mostly in North America.
Yeah. I was thinking globally. All right.
So
can we stop answering the kid question?
I don't want kids. I'm sorry, Ben. I don't want your babies.
Too long didn't read. I don't want kids.
Yeah.
Next question from Candy Knockout. I think this is relationship adjacent. I'm in 15 plus year relationship and we're also child free. How do you guys handle all the, oh my God, when are you having kids stuff? So this is a related question. So I guess it's about when people do ask you, when are you having kids? Why aren't you having kids? That sort of thing. Did we kind of answer this already?
I think in the beginning, when I used to get asked this question all the time when I was younger, like when we started dating maybe, and my family would ask me and I was 25 years old, I would get defensive and I would get really annoyed very easily when people would ask me that, because I just felt like they wouldn't shut the fuck up, right? And I think a lot of people can relate to that. It's just like, when are you having kids? And it's like, I'm not, okay? Stop asking. And maybe I'd be kind of bitchy about it, because it's just... it incessantly asked me the same question. I think now, though, the people in my life who used to ask that question have learned the answer.
So they don't ask.
They no longer ask me the question. So I guess it worked. But I just want to say, since my early years of being very defensive and like, no, I'm not. Why am I going to do that? Just because you expect me to. Like, and I was kind of being a smart ass, anti, whatever society wants of me. I've definitely calmed down on that. And now I can just respond more like an appropriate response and just like, no, I'm not interested in it.
And that just speaks to you being secure in your feelings about it.
Yeah,
too,
and
right?
just maturing and getting used to the fact, honestly, that like this is what people expect of me and whatever. I don't care what they think. I don't care.
All right, next question. How do you manage finances as a couple?
Well, Ben does taxes.
Do you each have your own accounts? How do you handle bills and large purchases?
Ooh.
And did things change after our YouTube
I like this
success?
question because this is like getting into the nitty gritty of important part of a relationship that I think
The finances?
No, I think it's a part that a lot of people don't think about when they think about relationship advice or how to manage it. Finances can be a huge part of a relationship once you're maybe moving in together. How do you split expenses?
Sure.
How do you decide what happens if there's a pay gap or wage discrepancy? So let's try and tackle this.
So it's funny because like the meme on this channel is like Ben's like the accountant. He does the taxes. But truthfully, like I handle a lot of the financial stuff for the business. Mm-hmm. But in terms of the personal finances, you are definitely the more organized, the person handling most of that, or arranging, like setting up the bill payments and things like that.
I manage all the property tax payments, the Hydro Ottawa,
you make sure those actually get paid.
I make sure they're all paid, whatever.
And I think that's probably because you moved out earlier than me and had
That's
more
right.
experience like setting up accounts. And
I would pay bills for lawyers and car shops that I worked for. So I literally have a work experience of paying bills. So I'm like, I'll do this.
We do each have our own accounts that we've maintained since being in a couple. We do have a joint account once we bought a home together.
Yeah, so we have our own accounts where I'll buy my like sweatpants and whatever I want, this cat thing from my account because it's my money. And Ben will buy whatever the hell he wants from his account. We don't have access to each other's personal accounts. Mm-hmm. But we do also have a joint account that's where we equally put in for house payments.
Yeah, I think money is one of the main reasons why couples fight.
Yeah.
And I think we're very fortunate because we've had a lot of financial success, both in terms of us having very secure regular careers, but also the YouTube success. Money is much less of a concern. It is not a concern for us on a day-to-day. Like my definition of being rich is not having to worry about money. Mm-hmm. And I say that on a day-to-day basis, we are not worried about money, and that we feel very fortunate about that. But it means we're not fighting over you spent too much money on purses or, But
sometimes with the saying, more money, more problems, right? So some people would expect that, because you guys have more money because of YouTube, is one of you trying to go out and spend it and buy something and the other one's getting angry over it. And the truth is, no.
Like we don't live like extravagant, expensive lifestyles.
But I think that's just because our personalities. It's not in my personality to just go out and blow all my money on a Lambo and then you get upset at me for spending,
No, if anything, I would rather you spend more money.
Yeah, Ben
I want
wants
you to
me
enjoy the money.
Ben wants me to go shopping and I'm like, no, I'm going to stay home.
You work incredibly hard. We both do. And I feel like there's no point going to your grave buried with money, especially since we're not having kids, right? I'm probably going to end up just donating it to
a castle for my cats.
Cat charities. But you should enjoy your money while you have it. So when you go shopping with I remember you and Corinne went out shopping one time. Mm-hmm. And she came back and she found this purse she liked. She bought some shoes and you didn't get anything.
Because I just didn't like anything.
And I was frustrated with you. Spend your money. Buy that. Do what makes you happy.
Okay, this isn't really helping though. To answer the question, let's go back to before YouTube, when you started to move in. Yeah. And I was struggling at the time to pay the mortgage because I just got this condo. And I was like, oh shit, all of a sudden I didn't get the full-time job that I thought I was going to get. Sure. It was still part-time. So, and a lot of it went to automatically to taxes because it was a government job. So I was getting a lot less than I thought. And at that time, I'd asked you to contribute to rent. Remember?
Yeah,
basically pay me a bit of rent
Yeah.
Just
This is when
just so I could, not go under.
I still had a place, let's say, but I was basically over with you all the time anyway.
You were living with me.
I was living with you even though I had a place I could be living. So I think there was an awkward period where there was a little bit of awkwardness in terms of have I actually moved in and should I start paying rent? And I eventually did, although it probably took a little longer than it should have.
But when I asked you, you were good about it. I thought I told you a fair amount. I took all the expenses, I added them up, but I subtracted the principal of the mortgage because I didn't think it was fair if you were paying into my equity and not getting a piece of it.
Yeah.
So I took just the expenses, the electricity.
It was certainly less than
TV.
half of rent of that place would have been too.
And I took the expenses, divided it in half, and asked you for that, and you agreed. And then you paid me and helped contribute, which I think every couple should do if they can, no matter what gender side you're on. This idea of the man's just gonna pay for it all also is bullshit.
No, not so much.
I mean, this was a different situation because it happened to be me that had a condo and needed the money to help pay for it, and you were living with me, so I thought that was fair.
And I'd been working a pretty good student job through the government a long time, so I had some money tucked away, so it wasn't some big stressful thing either, right? So
and to this day we still try and split things pretty evenly, right? We pay the mortgage evenly. We were 50-50 on our mortgage payments.
We approach it in a very rational, calculated way, right? We drew up a schedule of who owns X percentage of house, whoever brought property into arrangement. You do need to think about these things. I know we're not married and have no plans to get married, but
that's in a future question.
When you buy a house together, it's smart to have something like a cohabitation agreement, let's say.
We don't have very many arguments about money, basically.
I don't think we have any arguments about money, but that's because we're sort of in this privileged position where we basically think we evenly pay for things, but we're not also keeping a spreadsheet making sure we've exactly
we're not nickeling and diming each other, but we're also being fair with each other. And I think that's what's important in a relationship when you're starting to merge finances. Don't nickel and dime each other, because then you're gonna get upset over well, you bought napkins last week, right? You're gonna get into arguments over
napkins.
I don't know, just an example.
That's an extravagant expense. All right, next question. Question for Ben: how has Cristine's YouTube stardom affected your relationship, if at all? I really think this is actually a question for both of us.
No, it's for you.
But I think it could apply to both of us. How do you think fame, being a YouTube celebrity, has it changed our relationship? I think we've said this before, that I think we're both thankful that we met each other before the YouTube stuff took off. I think mostly for your benefit, because it must be a very strange thing to be dating while you're always thinking does this person, have they seen my videos? Do they have this preconceived notion of me?
Or are they with me for the money?
Are they interested in me because maybe they also want to be a social media
They want to get famous off me. Yeah. I've never had to deal with that because you and I met 8 years ago before YouTube.
Yeah, and we had been a couple for years before.
Yeah.
Before things really took off for you, at least a couple of years anyway, right? So how has it affected our relationship? I realized early on that Cristine is the type of person who needs to dive headfirst and really sink her teeth into projects. Before YouTube and social media, that was her thesis, for example. And I knew if I wanted to spend time with you and, see you outside of your office, I needed to kind of get involved. And, I would read your chapters. I would talk to you about your research.
Yeah.
I think if you extend that to the YouTube stuff, at first I was not very involved at all, but I sort of know, because I like you and I want to spend time with you and be involved in what you're interested in, I kind of have to get involved into the projects you get interested in. So
it's like taking an interest in your partner's passions and activities.
Yeah. So I think at least on the back end, I think I've been helping you with the YouTube stuff probably longer than most people realize. But really, that's just a way of me spending more time with you, right? And I like you just posted the banana curl video on your YouTube channel. I love that video. I had a lot of fun.
That was fun. We laughed so much.
A lot of sexual tension in that video.
So many bananas.
But yeah, I mean, I don't think there's been an adverse effect of this.
I don't think so either. But I think the reason for that, like why this hasn't caused so much stress in our relationship or on our relationship, is because we haven't really been the YouTube type to make couples about our relationship. I mean, until today.
About us.
Sorry, to make videos about our relationship. I mean, until today's podcast, yes. But this is more of an open adult conversation as opposed to like some quick clickbaity. Will he propose? Are we pregnant? Yes or no? And like those kinds of videos that just become a narrative for some people on their channel to just get fans in and drawn into this reality show of their relationship.
Yeah.
We haven't done that. Yes, you've been in my videos because you live with me, I love you, we spend time together. Sure. But there's a huge difference between that and using your relationship to drive clicks, which we haven't done. Had we done that, I think the answer to this question would be very different, because the types of comments you would get on those kind of clickbaity about your relationship videos can get pretty crazy.
Sure.
Right?
And we've seen some pretty big YouTube couples break up, and in their breakup video that they monetize and want to make money off of, they often refer back to the pressure they felt from like comments about their relationship, and like that's sort of blurred line between what they were doing for the relationship for themselves versus what they were doing for the audience. Like GF versus BF, is that the channel name? There was this famous prank channel early on YouTube.
Prank or no? Is that what it was?
I think
called?
it was BF versus GF.
Yeah.
But yeah, when they had their breakup video, I think they acknowledged the fact that they were sort of like, at what point was pranking each other just a job and they didn't really like being in a relationship together anymore? And did they not break up for a long time because they realized they were making tons of money by being an online couple, right?
Right.
I should say too, I think it would also help that we were a little bit older when you became YouTube famous. Because like, maybe I didn't have the maturity really early. I remember the very first time you mentioned me on Instagram. You posted a picture of me. There were like...
Did I tag you?
Maybe. I can't remember. But it was a picture of me with Menchie, maybe. Way back. And there were hundreds of comments.
Yeah.
All super positive. But I remember there was one negative comment.
What?
And there's something about our brains that we remember or those negative things affect us more, right? And I think it was just some sort of insult about like, oh, that's your boyfriend. I think it maybe was implying I was like ugly or something like that. I remember that did kind of bother me at the time.
Yeah.
But I think you just sort of need to have a bit of a thick skin and feel secure in your relationship. So some random egg Twitter account or some faceless Instagram comment shouldn't really bother you, right?
I would say generally, though, that we are lucky. There's barely any comments that trash our relationship. Like, I never see that in my YouTube comment section. I never see anyone saying like, oh, you could do better than him, or she's not right for you, leave her. I don't see that, honestly. So I'm grateful for that. And because there is none of that under my videos, we haven't had that negative effect that maybe you would expect.
I guess it's fair. It's hard to say what stress that would put on a relationship.
I mean, I don't listen to the negative shit, generally speaking. So if there were comments like that, like, I'd probably laugh. I'd be like, okay.
All right, next question. Ben, was Cristine this crazy when you first met her? Yes. Next question. No. You are...
What do you mean by crazy, Erica?
I think in relationships, you often see like a more calm person end up with someone who's a little more...
So wait, you're calm and I'm out there.
I think I'm a pretty even keel person. I don't get too excited. I don't get too up. I don't get too down. And I think you keep things interesting.
You sing songs and do little crazy bits sometimes.
I've brought out the crazy. Some insanity in me, let's say. Okay. But no, I think I like your crazy, you know? Life could just be a flat line of like everything is good and okay. Mm-hmm. Or it could be like Cristine's crazy. Sometimes that gets on my nerves, but when things are good, they're even better, you know? I'll take the peaks with
Let's just clarify. When you say crazy, what do you mean about me? Like, I'm not like screaming at you, angry, crazy.
Cristine just sometimes grabs plates and throws them at the ground and starts screaming.
No, by crazy, what do you mean?
just the way you can be goofy. Sometimes you'll
okay.
just like start singing to yourself really loudly in the kitchen, and you're just a big goofball. And I love it. I love it.
I'll be like,
about
Ben,
you.
where's my tea? Ben.
Yeah, like what you do in the video is like, yeah, there is an element where like you're recording a video, so you're sort of playing it up. But there have been times where like there are no cameras rolling, and I'll make fun of you. Like, is there a camera on right now? Because you're just kind of being wacky for no reason.
This is
That's
my
fine.
personality.
I like that. Yeah, and I think you helped me come out of my shell a bit too. Like when we first met early on in our relationship, I was kind of stuck up. I think I took everything too seriously.
You did, yeah.
And I think you sort of helped me just sort of relax and not worry so much about what other people would think about me, for example. And just, sort of just enjoy yourself.
I think in the beginning, you were worried what I thought of you a lot. So your demeanor and the way you spoke, you were very careful, and you always tried to use big, smart words all the time, and you would rarely like go crazy, goofy, and just like silly with me. And I was trying to like crack you out of that. And I'm like, come on, just be a dumbass with me for a second, please. Like we spent all this time talking about our thesis and like very intelligent things in politics, but sometimes I just want to be batshit crazy.
And I enjoy your
and
crazy
sing songs
very
and
much.
like jump on your back just like Menchie. You know?
All right, next question. I have a question. Should you date your best friend? I said no and lost a friend because he called me a bitch. Was I right?
Oh, Ponyo.
This is sad.
Coco.
This person is probably quite young, I'm guessing.
Well, wait. The answer to the first part, I have a question. Should you date your best friend? It could be yes.
I think you want the person you're dating to
be
become your best friend.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we have that.
So she's saying, or he's saying, that they were asked to be dated and they said no, and then their friend was sad.
This is a tricky thing, right? Like I was really good friends with a girl for a long time, and it escalated into a romantic relationship. And then when that ended, I was no longer friends with that person. And I think a lot of people could probably relate to the fact that you don't really... Some people can. Some people do stay friends with people they've dated.
But it's tough.
That is tough, and maybe not something that's always going to happen, right? So it is sort of dangerous to elevate things from a friendship.
But if
to
you
a
never
romantic
try,
relationship.
would you regret it? I feel like there's always that. Maybe you're always wondering that it could be more, and you really feel something more for this person. And if you never try, you're just going to watch maybe the love of your life like date other people without ever having said anything to them, and that's sad too. So
that is sad too. First of all, I think we should address the question head on. Like, he was not right to call you a name for saying you didn't want to date him. It's okay to not want to date someone. It is a tough thing when it is someone you care about and have a friendship with. And I know we're often talking, just like 90% of the people watching this are probably women, but just to maybe give briefly a guy's perspective, I think guys are taught like not to really have feelings so much. But that feeling of like asking a girl out and getting rejected, especially like when you're young and that's early on, that's like a hugely sort of devastating feeling. So I would just encourage young girls to be sympathetic and think about how you reject someone and not being mean about it, at least.
I think that applies to everyone.
Sure, that of course that works both
men
ways.
and women, anyone, to just, if you don't like someone, that's totally fine. You don't have to say yes to anyone, but just try and consider the other person's feelings. Yeah, right.
Actually, you put it much better than me. I'm being kind of heteronormative, assuming it's men always asking out a girl. But yeah, for any sort of relationship with two people, yeah, feelings can get hurt pretty easily, right?
Yeah, just try and be respectful. Let someone else down easy.
And and he shouldn't have called you.
No one should call you a bitch.
Yeah.
Unless it was like a joke. Because like I call you a bitch, you call me a bitch. Sometimes you're a crazy bitch, but like we're joking.
All right. From Sloan Tree. How can you encourage a partner, in my case a boyfriend, to communicate more? In my experience, a lot of men are brought up more closed off and are not able to access that part of themselves easily.
I don't really think you can. I mean, I'm sure there's some tricks maybe that people have to encouraging people to communicate more. But in my own experience, and I have dated guys who just weren't great communicators. Sure. Every effort or attempt I made to try and get them to like talk to me and tell me their feelings like just fell flat on the floor. It really, I wonder if it's just about the person and their own growth. It's not to say that some people are just bad communicators and they'll never change. It also might be a maturity thing. Maybe as they grow older, they'll become better communicators. But with Ben, like communication was never an issue for you as a man.
And it might be the key to having a healthy relationship. Really depends on you being able to have difficult, honest, hard conversations, right? Yeah. Like not everything has always been perfect in our relationship, but we've always been able to talk about it. Things. Yeah. That doesn't mean you need to always be able to perfectly communicate your feelings with each other. But if it's preventing you from overcoming hurdles in your relationship, then I could see that being a big issue. I think there might be men sort of in two camps here. There's men who aren't in, have been taught from a young age that like expressing their emotions is being weak. And with a guy like that, if you develop a trusting relationship and maybe he's willing to put himself in the vulnerable position, maybe you can start to have those conversations over time once that level of trust is really established, maybe. But then I just think for men and women or whoever, there are people who just aren't very introspective or in touch with that side of themselves either.
And that's just kind of their personality.
Right? So that person's not going to be able to talk to you about their feelings because they don't really think about their feelings or what they're feeling on the inside. And that's just not the kind of, if you need to be with someone who can talk about how they feel, then that's going to be tough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's the same logic with like, you can't really change a person's personality. Yeah. If it's a personality thing. I do think a lot of these cases, I'm assuming maybe she's younger, but there are some maturity elements that I think come into play, especially with men over time realizing that they can communicate and it's not so bad.
Yeah, and being more secure with yourself should allow you to be able to just
growing
talk
up
about yourself more, you would think, right?
Yeah.
But maybe there's something there. Like it's worth having a conversation about the fact that you feel like the other person is closed off to you. Because maybe they don't feel like they're closed off to you at all. Maybe they feel like they're an open book.
That's a good point.
And they just don't have many words in that book. You don't like my analogy? I like
yes,
that.
I like your book. Good book.
All right, next question. Eric Martins, what is your advice on dealing with income discrepancy in a relationship? You may have experienced this yourself.
Famous YouTuber. Who's that?
Famous YouTuber. Would it bother you if... I think...
Actually,
there's this expectation that the man should make more money is the sort of the traditional old school view, right?
I've definitely seen this question, and I think most of them were aimed at you. Does it bother you, Ben, that I technically make more money than you and I'm a woman? Oh my God. Shocking.
The only thing that would bother me would be if I felt like I was just like a leech living off of you. I don't feel that because of how involved I am. And that's not like some old school heteronormative idea. I wouldn't feel happy with myself as a person if I just felt like I was living a life of luxury off of someone else's hard work.
And that's exactly how I would feel, because I'm the same way. I'm the opposite of wanting to live off of a man's funds.
Yes,
like
I've noticed that about
absolutely not.
you.
I will make my own money, thank you.
Yeah.
But if I were in a situation where someone made more money than me and my male partner made more money than me, like that's fine. That's just how our jobs landed, I guess. Mm-hmm. As long as I'm working hard and contributing and don't feel like I'm just reliant on my partner's income, then I'm happy and secure in the relationship. At the end of the day, what amount is on your paycheck is really just your own careers and your employer's prerogative, right? Like you can't control that. Like I can't control how much you make at Statistics Canada and you can't control how much I make on YouTube. Only Susan can. So it's just, it is what it is. It's just how you as a couple deal with it. And I think we've done really well because we both share the same progressive perspective that we are equal in this relationship and we're going to contribute, and neither of us are taking advantage of the other for economic purposes.
Yeah, and that's probably the most important thing. Even if there is a huge income discrepancy, it's just having that sort of mutual respect and that feeling of one person doesn't think the other person is
more powerful
taking
or better,
advantage or has
Yes.
power over the other because
Exactly.
of money, that could get pretty ugly. Yeah.
Yeah. I have dated guys in the past who, like, while I was still in school, not making much money, and they were maybe in the field working good paying jobs at that time.
Sure.
And they just wanted to splash money everywhere, buy dinner all the time. And like, yeah, I guess it was nice, and like you're dating and you're like, oh, he bought everything. But I have always felt a level of discomfort with that. And early on I realized like that's not the life I want. Eventually I don't want a guy just buying all my shit and buying the house.
I think I learned that early on too, because even though it's not like I had a ton of money, I remember I did sort of try to establish or show off that like I could take you out for nice things. Or even that New York trip, I think, was me being like,
you wanted to pay.
I'm buying
Yeah.
us this trip to New York and it's great. And like, it's not like I had a ton of money sitting in a bank account. I just
Yeah.
kind of wanted to show
And
off.
hey, I get it. Like, you're young and you want to impress someone, and that's kind of the expectation. But I just, it's so outdated.
You're a modern woman.
I'm a modern woman,
get it.
and I just want equality. And I hope that people listening to this see the value in that too. I just think it's so much better for a relationship when you feel like equals. And a huge part of that is your finances, because that, as we were speaking earlier, can be a very big point of contention.
Yeah.
If one feels like one has power over the other because they're paying for everything, they could hold it over your head. And I just, more than that, I just as an individual want to feel like I contribute and I have a role in this. So I will always, I mean, yes, I know YouTube has been incredibly successful and grateful, but even before YouTube, I was always going to work. I mean, I still work the same job, but always going to be a working career girl no matter what, because I want to bring something to the table too, not just for our mutual relationship that we're living together, but for me, because I'm going to maintain my own bank account and I'll buy myself glitter sneakers if I want with my own money.
I would just qualify this a little. First of all, I totally agree with you, and I think that was very well put. I would only want to qualify for people where having children or family is important to you.
Yeah.
I see a parent staying at home to raise kids as, what do we say, unpaid labor. Like, that could be the work you do. We're not just trying to say both parties need to
Sure.
make
Yeah,
money.
no, that's not what I meant. I just meant like if that was the situation
Yes.
where you were both young and working and there wasn't a family to consider.
Because we're thinking of our context too, right?
Exactly.
All right, next question. Is it weird working with your partner? Do you guys like get sick of constantly
can I
being
answer
together?
first?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I love working with Ben.
Where? At our work?
Oh, good point. Okay, so Ben and I work together at Statistics Canada, and we have worked on the same floor for 6 years.
For a while now. Yeah.
5 or 6 years. We've worked on the same floor in the same division. So we were dating before I got the job, after you already had
I was
the
already
job.
working there, and then you came.
And everyone asks, like, oh, who are you hooking up with? That guy. And I'm like, I've been dating him for 2 years.
I remember I did disclose to my supervisor at the time because I wasn't really sure what the rules were around that. I think it only would have been an issue if we were in a position where one of us was the other person's supervisor.
Yeah, and that was never an issue because literally this whole time we've been at the exact same level. So not one of us is higher than the other.
That's true. And we've never really even worked on anything. We've contributed to the same projects, but I can't say we've ever
We
really
technically
worked
wrote
together.
a paper together. Remember
Yeah,
that?
but we didn't even work on that project at the same time, right?
Yeah, but yeah, I guess.
Right.
But we wrote a paper together though. Isn't that fun?
I think it's probably good to maintain some separation though, and the fact that I think we could work fine together, but I'm okay with the fact that we're not being tasked to work on the same projects together as well.
Yeah, so my day-to-day work doesn't overlap with Ben's, but I mean we sit like 10 feet away from each other.
Sure. And we'll like eat lunch together when we're both in on the same day. And,
yeah. I don't get sick of him. Do you get sick of me?
well, I think it is important to have a life outside of your
The answer is
relationship. I'm just going to conveniently not answer that question. No, but like I was saying, it's important to feel like you have something just outside of your relationship.
Yeah.
Because, we go to work together. We work on all the internet stuff together. We work on Holo Taco stuff together. So it's important to also feel like you have some independence from your relationship, as much as it feels like we've put like 99% of our chips into this collective experience of us doing everything together.
But like, you'll go out with your brother or your friends. You'll go see a movie. You'll play your
I
video
just saw
games.
Sonic the Hedgehog, the movie, with my brother. And
Very
a friend.
cool. Ben
We're
leaves
so
the house
cool.
more than I do.
Yeah. I need to, because you're the one
But
who's
I
less
just paint my
likely
nails.
to go anywhere.
Painting my nails is my
For
time.
work or for fun?
Me time.
That's
for,
your me time.
I guess
For both.
lately it's been a lot of work because I've been swatching for Holo Taco's next collection.
That's right.
So that's
Coming
what I've
soon.
been
Do
doing.
people know when that's coming out?
My neck hurts.
From
My
swatching.
neck hurts from all swatching.
We
so-
needed a nail model. We've actually had conversations about potentially getting people to model the nail polish.
Yes, because my neck hurts. No. I'll keep doing it for now.
All right.
Yeah, next question.
Next
I think
question.
that answers it. Oh, you saved the best for almost last.
We talked about the marriage
No,
stuff
we
already.
talked about kids.
Did we just talk about kids? Oh.
Yeah.
You've said that marriage is not for you, but can you get deeper into why marriage is something you guys don't see as important in a relationship, or more specifically in yours? I'd love to know more of your thoughts on it. I'm just fangirling over a hollow wedding, lol. First of all, I should say we don't get offended by these questions. Like, yeah,
I'm
there are a
not
lot
offended.
of them, but when I first met you, I thought you were someone who did think or care about marriage.
Because I watched TLC.
Mostly
Say Yes to the
because you
Dress.
watched Say Yes to the Dress, but I thought you had at least made some comment about the fact that you like knew what sort of dress you would like if you were to ever get one.
No, I think I was just commenting on like, ew, that dress is ugly.
Maybe. Maybe I'm misremembering, but I think it became clear pretty early on in our relationship that it just wasn't something that really mattered to either of us. And the truth is, like, if it did matter, I would have proposed like 7 years ago.
So you're saying that you would get married if I wanted to, but that's not.
No,
really fair to
I'm not
you.
saying, I'm saying neither of us really care about
Care,
marriage.
yeah.
But if we did, we would have been married a long time ago.
I guess so. That's a good
Right?
point. So people always want to know from me, because as a woman who like should want a fancy sparkly
You
ring
should wanna get
and
married,
a party
yeah.
dress and someone to
Yeah,
call their
why
husband,
don't you want that?
why I don't want to get married. Hold on.
A little tea break. You need to sip some tea first.
So I have touched on this briefly in past videos. There's not just one reason, there's a multitude of reasons, but I guess the main one is like, I don't really see a reason why I would get married. It just doesn't make sense. So in the States, I know that a primary reason for getting married is because there's tax benefits, there's healthcare benefits, and there's all these other legal reasons why it makes sense. And it's just maybe easier to raise a family if you just get married, and it's just easier, basically, for
we
financial
don't know
reasons.
the legal situation where you are. We don't know how it changes if you have kids.
Exactly.
We just know in Ontario, from our perspective, it doesn't make a significant difference. We usually quickly say, like, there's no real difference between common law and married. It's not entirely true, but none of the differences really matter for people in our context, especially if you also have a will and power of attorney drawn up. And you can have like legal contracts outside of a marriage that establish those rules for a common law couple.
So basically for us, there isn't really a legal meaningful reason to get married because we are already common law. We already have rights to each other's assets. If we die, we have a common law agreement that spells it out if we need to.
So the only question left is, does marriage mean something to you on a more symbolic
Right,
level?
a symbolic, a family, oh, hey, buddy, Zyler's here. A society reason, you know, and the answer is like, no, I don't care that society thinks we should get married because we are together. Another reason why people get married, aside from like the benefits of legal contractual being together, is religion is a huge driver of marriage. Ben and I are not religious, nor do we have religious families. So if we have any pressure from our families, like I wouldn't want to say we have real intense pressure, but if there was ever any, it wasn't out of religion. It was just out of societal expectations. Well, you've been together for a few years now. Will you get married? And I just like, I kind of reject this social expectation of getting married. I don't see a point. I don't see a benefit in it. And then the more pragmatic reason for not getting married is I hate dresses. I also don't want to be the center of attention. I don't care about flashy diamond rings. It's just not my vibe. It's not my personality. I don't need a party to celebrate us with a bunch of people and people arguing over like what food plate they chose and everyone trying to get pictures. I don't want any of that. Like, a party sounds awful. I'd rather just spend time with Ben for the next 40 years just hanging out in our living room. You know, I don't need a party. Weddings are a huge waste of money too, in my opinion, for those who don't really value them. If I'm not going to have that much fun and like remember this for the rest of my life and it's so important to me, then I don't see why I would spend tens of thousands of dollars on it. It's just not for me.
Yeah. Maybe I'll just add a couple thoughts that I know you've acknowledged before, that your parents got a divorce, but we've talked about the fact that you don't think that was like some scarring experience that made you think like marriage is bad or wrong or not true. Like, that, I don't think that's really had too much of an effect on your perspective on this either, has it?
I've seen, because I think I've mentioned like my parents are divorced, and people just assume, oh, that's why you don't believe in marriage, because your parents' marriage failed technically. I don't care. It doesn't bother me, and maybe that's because my parents didn't divorce until I was like 21, so I was an adult and already moved out. It did not affect me in the way that I understand divorces can seriously affect young children. And that I have sympathy and I understand that. But for me, I was much older, didn't bother me. I was happy that they were separating because
if they weren't happy together.
So it was their choice to get married. It was a very different time, obviously, when they got married than it is today. And I feel like increasingly we have more choice. There's increasingly less expectation on people to get married, even though it's still there. But there's way less in our culture in Canada. I find it's like kind of dying out, which I'm happy for.
That makes you happy.
But yeah, it's not as strong as it used to be, this whole push to get married.
Yeah, I'm glad people aren't
changing.
Feeling pressured into it. And the whole institution of marriage and the history of marriage is a pretty strange thing.
Yeah. So this idea of getting married and having like my dad give me away to you, I know some people think that that's sweet and it's nice. And if you think that that's sweet and nice and your family wants to play a part in it, and it's a fun social thing for you, and I get it and I understand, I'm not insulting people who do that, because literally everyone has their dad walk them down the aisle. It's fine. It's just, I like to reflect on these things and pick apart why it might be problematic and a little strange. And the idea of like the father giving the daughter away to another man is kind of archaic in my mind.
I think a lot of people feel that way.
Yeah, it's weird. And this idea of even exchanging rings, and like the woman has to wear, traditionally speaking, the engagement ring to lock her in for a year or however long the engagement period.
Own you,
to show that you pre-own me. You pre-own me, but I don't pre-own you.
On this.
But I don't pre-own you. Right? Men don't wear engagement rings.
You own my heart, sweetie.
Right. Anyways, there's just all these little things about marriage. And just the whole institution of it, the ceremony, the spectacle of it, that I guess early on as like a sociologist in school, I was trying to pick them apart and try and prove that this was problematic from a social perspective, especially like from a feminist perspective.
I should say in our life experience too, we've known people in very healthy relationships who are not married. I have
an aunt and uncle who've been together for, I don't know, like 40 years, like literally forever. They're not married. They're totally happy.
They don't have kids.
They also don't have kids. We are them.
But they have like a very healthy and stable relationship from our outside perspective. Yeah. I guess you never really know. And that is the scariest thing about, have you seen the movie, scariest thing about being in a relationship is not really knowing what the other person's thinking, you know? I should have said this during the crazy question, but there's that scene in the movie Gone Girl where he's like looking at his wife's head and he's like, you can never really know what's going on in there.
Nope.
I think that about you sometimes.
Thanks. Okay, Ben.
One more thought on the marriage thing too.
When you gonna propose? Isn't that the title of this video?
Do you want to
why he won't propose?
That's good.
Because I told him not to.
Oh, okay.
Aw, so
and
sweet.
I think more people like have conversations about this than people realize. It's not like incumbent upon the man to like decide this is the moment I'm gonna propose. And you know,
Right.
more relationships these days, modern relationships, even if you care about marriage, I think it's more likely that you have a conversation with your partner about when.
Well, you
and
want
how
to know
want
if
that to
that's
happen.
something he or she, anyone in the relationship wants. Let me just say, we have tons of friends who are married who had like proposal stories, like Sophia and Tyler, and you know,
that's
recently had a
fine.
proposal. And it's not that I think proposals or weddings are like awful and like, you know, just cut them out of
No.
society. I don't think that. I'm really happy for people who get married and want to do that and want to celebrate like that. And Sophia loved, like, look at, she had a beautiful wedding dress, and then she switched to a black wedding dress, and they had the whole Morticia and family, Adam's family vibes. It's just like, it made so much sense for them, and it was so clearly them and what they wanted to do. And I am incredibly happy for them.
I think they're also a good example of people who both wanted to share some of that experience with their audience, but also kept some of it just for themselves and the friends and family that were there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. We're not marriage haters, okay? I
No.
just want to make that clear, just because I have my own thoughts about it.
Sure.
It's just, I'm a weird, uncomfortable person. Generally speaking, right? I'm just a sock.
That's your just mood
Like,
all the
I just want to
time.
be in a sock. I'm not going to any altar. I'm not walking down nowhere.
Sure.
I'm just being a sock on the couch.
I guess my last thought on the marriage piece, though, is on our podcast about our first jobs, you noted that you had a sexist boss when you worked for a
Who
lawyer.
asked me when I was getting my MRS degree.
But yeah, who
should have said
suggested,
never.
who implied you were only going to university to get a husband.
Yeah.
So do you think that one of the reasons we're not married is that you met me in university and you don't want to prove him right?
Yes, Ben, that's
Is
exactly
that the
it.
answer? That's
This-
it?
it's
We
my
just
big
cracked the
fuck
case?
you to the lawyer I once worked for 12 years ago. No, there isn't one reason. It's not my parents' divorce. It's not the sexist boss. It's not because I was previously engaged and it went awful. I was never engaged. But I'm just trying to say, like, there was no major trauma in my life that made me feel this way. I've just, over time, observing society, have come to this conclusion.
I do think it would be funny, though, if, like, you were doing a Simply Nailogical YouTube video, a nail art video, and all of a sudden you said, "What's on my other hand?" And there's a ring.
Except my other hand is my right hand, which is traditionally not the wedding hand, because
You'd have
that
to
makes
flip it up.
so much sense too.
I won't lie, I have thought about the fact, or we've talked about this. Maybe I shouldn't say it because we could still do it. But this idea of having a YouTube video that's just riffing on the fact that, like, we're not getting married, but you have, like, an anti-marriage, and we all just, like, go to Vegas with some of our YouTube friends and have a party.
Okay. All right, sign me up. We're not getting married party.
We're
I'm
not
in.
getting married. The anti-bachelorette party, the... So we have a ton more questions, but we've been talking a really long time.
About ourselves.
I'm kind of
Yeah.
sick of
us.
sick of hearing my own voice.
I think we need a break, Ben.
I think we need to do maybe a whole other podcast down the road on relationship stuff again. We still have a bunch of questions we didn't even get to.
Yeah.
We could get new ones and more. So I think we might just wrap it up here. Zyler, what do you think? Zyler has joined us on the table. He's taking a little nap.
So I was like, I'm the man in her life.
I think
Remember that.
never forget I was
Hey,
here
buddy.
first.
I was here first.
All right. Well, thank you everyone so much for watching.
Yeah.
Do we-
Thanks for watching our love story, listening to our love story.
Do we know what the next one might be? The
No.
next podcast? No, I don't think so.
No, but I will put it out on our socials, SimplyPodLogical, on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Reddit. Follow them. And later in the week, I'll put out a note about what our next topic is, and then you guys can ask some questions about that particular topic. So that's how we'll do it.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. Our apologies to Philip DeFranco.
Oh my
we were
God.
supposed to have him on as a guest, but we ran out of time.
Why are you shading Phil?
I'm not shading anybody. What are you talking about? I just ran out of time. We were having a good conversation about our relationship. We don't always have time for Phil, right? He just wasn't important enough.
Okay.
So thank you for watching. We'll see you next Taco Tuesday. See y'all later.
See you next Taco Tuesday.
Bye.